minutes. I should have read them slower.
We're up.
We're up? We're up?
Yeah.
Yay!
I see your picture.
Thank you, Tyler.
So can you get Robin on a Google Meet?
We're just gonna throw another
Why
thing
don't
at
you
you.
just say what just happened? Rephrase what just happened.
Yeah, so we started the meeting, but we were not online yet for anybody that's watching. So we just went through our consent agenda items, which is on the agenda online if you want to see that. And then we approved those 7-0, but now we're going to start at our normal agenda. And we have, so tonight, we do not have any Taking Positive Steps Service Award, but we do have a presentation, and he's going to be joining us on Google Meet in just a few minutes from School Perceptions.
So the district worked with school perceptions.
It looks scary.
It's like the Matrix or something.
Looks like Star Wars. or
Wars.
something.
You're too young to remember 2001 Odyssey, Space Odyssey. Hal. I
I'm not.
don't remember it. I remember hearing plenty about it, but I don't actually remember watching it. We're getting littler.
Oh, that's bizarre.
It is the Matrix.
Yeah.
So as we're waiting for Rob Mew from School Perceptions. I've been emailing him, letting him know that we're running late. So the district worked with School Perceptions to send out a survey to all of our families shortly after spring break. We appreciate all the families who took their time to complete that survey. Rob from School Perceptions is going to be with us tonight virtually to review the survey results with the board. And when Rob shows up, I will turn it over to Rob.
Tyler's having problems.
Nobody else is gonna
Yeah.
ask you.
I think, Tyler, I might have to let him in.
Oh, you have to do it, 'cause you created it. Just hide yourself.
Yeah. So Rob, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can see myself too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Just what you want.
You look good.
Oh, wow, thanks.
Yeah. So, sorry for the delay. We have had some technical difficulty. We always stream our board meetings, and we were having some issues with that. So we have corrected that. Our IT guru has put that together for us. So I just got done sharing with the board that School Perceptions did that survey for us. We're so thrilled with our families that they took the time to take the survey, and then you're here to join us to kind of go through the results of them. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, do I have screen sharing permission? Will we see a screen or what do you see?
Yeah, we see your screen. You're on the big screen.
Oh, okay.
So you should be able to share. Yep, we can see you and the screen share.
All right. Can I hop right in or do
You hop right in.
All right, let's do it. Anything a little echo? I don't know if that's.
Say that again.
He's getting echo packets in here, Vince.
What I'm gonna do, Rob, is I am going to jump off the meeting, and you should still be on the meeting here, because I'm using my computer. I had to let you in. Hopefully that'll work.
I
Okay.
know, it's like, fingers crossed.
Okay, so let's hop in. So we have worked with you a couple of times in the past, whether it's a couple of years ago or 22 years ago, we got our start. Our mission has never once changed. We want to help you as educational leaders do three things, which is gather, organize, and use data to make strategic decisions. I know you worked with us in the past. Basically, the point of this slide is that this isn't our first rodeo. We've done this kind of thing over 10,000 times in more than 909 districts nationwide. The good stuff is about you. So your survey closed up on April 26th of this year, and you had a total of 540 respondents. which left you at a participation rate as average is. If you had asked me what the average participation rate for a parent survey is, I would have told you exactly 33%. So since that average is okay, this is exactly what you got here. The next few slides, well, I don't necessarily delve deeply into this in the report. This is a perspective from the district level. We can combine, or anybody that has access to data can combine various elements of your slides and really get pretty deep in the analysis here. So just zooming ahead, and then I'll come back a little bit. You know, if we wanted to say, show me parents at the primary school who have a child in the 504 plan, and see if they have a different level of satisfaction or engagement as a different pool of parents, you can absolutely do so. So any of these demographic pieces can be sliced and diced in various ways. But the point that I always like to make here is, for the sake of confidentiality, not only do we do this on your behalf, but we put up some roadblocks to make sure that you can't slice and dice too deep, or you might find out who somebody is. In other words, you know, there might only be a handful of parents who have a kiddo enrolled at the primary school with a 504 plan. If that's the case, and you disaggregate so far that you get to a pool of people that is 5 or fewer, our system will stop you and say, no, you might find out who they are. And that goes for you, and it goes for me as well. I don't have that kind of disaggregation purposes either. So I just point that out to say there are some pretty hard and fast confidentiality roadblocks in the way, which are very intentional to make sure you facilitate that. So anyway, some of those demographic questions that can be included, we asked what school the parent has their child attend, the grade level of their children. This is exactly what I would expect, by the way. Senior parents, when the survey goes out in April and May, are what we're expected to be here. Otherwise, you have very balanced representation across the groups. And then as well here, I can identify whether my child is enrolled in one of these special services. Again, so you can see if there's a different level of engagement or satisfaction depending on who these parents are. And then there's a racial question as well. You could also tie that in. Getting into the actual data, we begin with our 30,000-foot view. So we call these our indexes. Indexes are designed to do exactly what you see up on the screen here. They're there to provide you as educational leaders with just a snapshot of your survey results. So I'm going to show you what these indexes are in just a moment, and then as we go through the survey, we'll take a step down in our funnel to mix my analogies here, and we'll get more specific. We'll talk about the questions that feed these indexes, because there are key questions throughout the survey that build each. So for instance, for your parent survey indexes, all of these are on a scale of 1 to 5 to match the scale that each individual item had in the survey. So for instance, take that very first row, informed. This parent index is defined as, I am kept up to date on my child's progress and what's happening at school. Worst possible score is 1.00. Best possible score is 5.00. So your scores are next. Then you're going to get more exciting data next year or the year after, depending on how often you repeat your survey. Right now you have some hyphens because you haven't done this type of survey with us in the past. And then all the way on the right-hand side is among your comparison pool, how many, or what percentage of districts rather, are you doing better than? So for instance, on this informed index, your score out of 5 is a 4.00, which means that you're doing better than 58% of other school districts among your comparison pool. So you're certainly doing better than are more doing better than you. And in fact, that story is repeated as you go down the line here. In fact, on any given remaining item, you are doing better than approximately 2/3 of other school districts at any one of these given indexes. So you'll see the 67, 66, 65th, and 67th index again. So you're doing better than about 2/3 of other school districts in your comparison pool. What are these other indexes? Included is defined as I am welcomed, respected, and part of the school community. There you scored a 3.98. Educational excellence. My child's school is effective in helping them learn, develop, and succeed. 3.93. Atmosphere. My child feels safe and supported at school for a 4.07. And experience. My family is accepted, respected, and supported at school for 0.8. So not only am I eyeballing how many districts are you doing better than, I also look at the score on the left hand. The first thing I do, not only in this slide, but on any of the slides moving forward, is are you above or below 3? Because unless I call it otherwise, nearly every item in your survey is on a 1 to 5 scale. So if you're north of 3, you're on the side of the fence that you want to be on. You're leaning towards agreement. And the fact that you reached 4 on a couple of these, you're starting to get closer to that strongly agreed range, which is exactly what I want to see. It is not common, as you can see here, based on the percentage of districts you're doing better than. It's not common to see a score north of 4, and you're going to hear me repeat that several times. And you have a lot of good data here, and so I'm excited to give you this report because that's not always that common over the past few years. So thank you for. As we take a moment, one other thing I want to say about this. So how do you use these? There's a couple ways. One is just what I described. It's a 30,000-foot view. Even if I'm not too comfortable with data, I can kind of know from the snapshot like how we're doing. We have had districts though use these as a pillar of their strategic plan. And I know you've done that a couple of years ago, so that may not be pertinent right now. But if we can align these with a pillar of your plan or a future plan, we're kind of ready-made by the factors that will tell you over the course of your plan, are we going up, are we going down, and they're kind of ready to go for you. So if in the future, as and when you review your plans, update them, this is what you can use those because you'll know them all in the survey. Taking a step down next, now we're going to go through the items that fed those indexes. So each of the questions in your survey. I'm not changing the scale on you here. We're still on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being the worst, 5 being best. The way these are ordered is by this column right over here, your average score on a 1 to 5. So for each of these, in the leadership and communication section, there were 3 items. District administration is doing what it takes to make our district successful. Nearly 8 to 9 parents are really strongly agree with that. For an average of 3.99, and based on that average, you're doing better than 70% of other districts in your group. Very similar data across your leadership structure here. The school board, doing what it takes to make our district successful, 86% agree or strongly agreed at 3.86. Doing better than about 2/3 of the districts in your pool. And finally, overall, are we heading in the right direction? More than 8 to 10 agreed, for a score of 3.84. Once again, at the 69th percentile. So from a leadership perspective here, your data is very similar. So it's not like one group is evaluated much higher than another. Overall, your data is corroborating with itself in terms of how your families are evaluating district leadership, whether it's you as board members or administrators. Regarding communications, the question about overall, how would you rate communications from school? Over 1/4 said you're doing a great job. Over a majority in just one category said you're doing good. So when I do my quick math there, you're at, what is that, 84% that are telling you you're doing a great or good job in terms of your communications that you're sending out. This was a slightly different scale. This was 1 to 4, so the perfect score is 4.00, not 5.00 here. So you're kind of between the good and great range here at 3.11, which means you're doing better than about 3/4 of other districts in terms of how your parents are evaluating their communications. As you continue to perfect communications, that's kind of a never-ending piece of work there to make sure that you always stay up to date on how parents want to be communicated with. This is a question that we ask regularly, whether it's a community survey, a parent survey. Data can change by year. In red, how would you like to receive information? So it's a current wording of the question. Not how do you? Because you could be communicating with me in a way that I don't want you to be communicated with. You know, you might be doing X and I really want you to do Y. This is kind of that imperfect world. Here's how I want you to send me things so that I can learn about school. You are like everybody else here in terms of your number 1. 95% checked emails. Second in the list are automated phone and text notification. I'm not sure how you use these. You know, some districts only reserve these for school emergencies or security issues or snow days, something like that. Other districts use them for a much broader feature. You know, reminder, there's the elementary school concert tonight. So I'm not quite sure where you landed that, but bear in mind that your parents are looking at those and do want to receive automated phone and text notifications. I would say kind of your third tier then for the newsletters and the parent portal. And then taking one more step down, the website, individual meetings, Facebook, that school board meeting summary document, and a community link are all, very much not insignificant ways people are learning about you. Where fewer eyeballs are going, character organization, more meetings, other social media. Then we get into the meat of this paper. So most of the questions on the school experience page, and now we are back to our what scale, same kind of direction though. First score 1.00, score 5.00. You got a lot of questions here like before, and that is very exciting to me. I'm a mile wide and an inch deep. You know, it goes without saying that you know better, you know Lowline better than I do. But I see a lot of these, and the amount of scores that you have above 4.00 is not normal. When I go through these though, it's always interesting how you choose to read the data, and it's kind of a value judgment. So what do I mean by that? Well, take a first example here. School facilities are clean, well kept. Darn near perfect school. 96% of your parents either agree or strongly agree with that item for a score of 4.31. In layman's terms, you're rocket. The comparison percentile is interesting, and there's not really one column that is more important than the other here. So in terms of how many districts you're doing better than, it's 57%. 43% of districts are doing better than you. The blessing and the curse is that this particular item, the data is very tightly clustered. Most parents in most districts feel like their kid or school is clean and well kept. So it only takes you to move a couple of hundredths of a point, and your comparison percentile soars along with it. So they're all truthful ways to look at the data, but I always think it's interesting where if I shaved off that comparison percentile, this would not be an area you need to work on at all. You have a near perfect score with 96% and a 4.31. At the same time, if I only showed you that your percentile was at the 57 and 43% of other districts are doing better than you, that might send off alarm bells. And you might think, oh my God, that's something we gotta work on tomorrow. And I don't think that's the case. So you kind of have to take all the columns in conjunction with one another, and you really have to say, how do all these pieces fit together? Because I think what you'll see here is, there are items that you're gonna wanna work on. That's good. That's exactly what I would hope the survey would do for you, is show you what's going well so you can maintain it, and show you what's not so you can fix it. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but you really have to look at all the data together, because in my mind, this is not a red flag that you need to fix right away. But I do think it's valid to know that if you went up a little bit, you'd be performing a lot better than a great percentage of other districts as well. Okay, some other items from this page. Again, in descending order here, your score. My child feels safe at school, and I feel welcome in my child's school. We're both at a score of 4.29, and 86 and 56 unhoused respectively. And school staff treat my child with dignity or stuff, or 90% agree, or 4.24, doing better than 72% of others. Page 2, same section continued. I have at least one school staff member I feel comfortable contacting when I have an idea or concern, nearly 9 in 10, just under 88%, putting you in the 64th percentile. And then 2 more items where you're very near kind of that 2/3 mark in terms of how many districts you're doing better than. Both scored a 4.03. Those 2 items being overall, my child is able to handle the emotional challenges of school, and my child gets help when they need it. Once again, an item that's very similar to your school facilities question that I opened up with. You have a score that's north of 4. 9 in 10 of your parents are agreeing or strongly agreeing. Once again, you run into the issue of tightly clustered data. And if memory serves me, there's only 2 items where you fall below the median, where more districts are doing better than you, as opposed to you doing better than most other districts, and this is one of them. So the 46th percentile, if my child risk was there to get early. Continuing down that list, all items where you are doing better than the majority of your pool. 4.01, is with materials that reflect my family's cultural and racial background. 4 on the nose. The school has high expectations for that child. And just under 4, 3.98. The 79th percentile, school communication is both timely and transparent. Not surprised to see that score where it is based on the satisfaction we saw with their communications earlier on. Most days my child enjoys going to school, 88% agreement for a score of 3.97, putting me better than 57% of other districts. The other item that fell below the median, at the 22nd percentile, I know how to support my child's learning. 88% agreed for a score of 3.94. The three other items on this page then, where you were back to being part of the median. I am satisfied with how much my child is learning. You're right around that agree, just from the agree score, the 3.94. And then the two final items here that both for a value of 3.90, with 87 and 84% there is a healthy culture at our school, and I am updated on how my child is doing at school. Finally, the last three items from this section, I have opportunities to provide feedback to the school teachers, 3.88, doing better than 62% of other districts. The school provides opportunities for parental involvement, 3.86, doing better than 57% of other districts. And finally, I am satisfied with our school's efforts to address bullying, 3/4 agreement, 3.61, doing better than nearly 70% of other districts here. Turning the page to some of the other questions that were structured a little bit differently. The next question about the overall amount of homework my child is asked to complete is, much to many children's dismay, 13% of their parents said they were getting too little homework. I can't do anything about it. About 3/4 said just right, 7%, much too much children's pleasure, 7%, and then don't know doesn't apply, maybe their kid was too young, 7% there. So overwhelming majority said the amount of homework their child gets is just right. Does your child currently participate or plan to participate in sponsored sports and their extracurricular activities? 82%. 9% said no, and then you got a handful that either don't know or their child is just too young to participate. By the way, as I was talking earlier on about, kind of mix and matching some of these demographic factors and combining these, providing your pool doesn't get too small. This is one of those questions where I like to do that and kind of backward map and say, well, on the back end, Vince can do this, for instance, show me the people that are no, and do they differ in some way? Are they more likely to be freshmen as opposed to 8th grade? That's a big stepping stone in a child's educational career. Are they more likely to be receiving special education services at school or not? And kind of backwards and saying, well, is there something we can do to make sure that there is a club or a sport or something at school, no matter who my child is as a parent? And again, kind of seeing are there overlapping factors for people that said no? That's a great way I like to use this. And then near unanimity, 96% of folks said their child has access to reliable internet at school, only 4% said no. I don't want to minimize that 4%, but again, an example of the question around here is a similar pool of people. While 4% isn't very high, that is a massive barrier for those 4%, and I don't want to minimize that. Planning priorities. This next section, please choose up to 4 areas that you believe we should focus our planning efforts. So at the end of the day here, it's kind of that, everything's important, we recognize that, but knowing that there is finite number of hours in a day, time, money, and resources, etc., where should we put our bang for our buck? Where do you believe we should put our planning efforts? There are 3 slides just to make sure that they were fairly readable. You have really well-balanced data after the first slide. So the first one that stood up, nearly 6 to 10 votes went to life skills. So those being things like personal finance, which actually, based on state changes, you don't have choices anymore. That has to be taught about cooking and health, some of those things to make sure that kiddos are prepared for life after high school. Unsurprisingly, it always tests well. Over 4 in 10 shows career in tech ed, so those are things like trades, business, marketing, and health sciences, much beyond the traditional shop that may have been known as CTE in the past. Certainly an emphasis on recruiting and retaining high-quality staff, mental health services for the kiddos, and their academic and career planning, once again, to make sure that they're successful with life after high school, followed by community and business partnerships. So this is very correlated with your CTE work, youth apprenticeships, the co-ops, the mentoring, whatever credits or experiences kiddos can get outside of school or still in middle school. I think that's kind of your first tier of priorities that you're seeing. Then you get into really equal data here, and it's really hard to parse this out. Your next slide actually is very valid. So college credit opportunities for students is at 14%. and a wider range of courses for students is at 12%. Nearly everything on this page is at 12%, you get to 11%, you get 10% to 9%. So now you're getting into very equal levels of priorities. So I would say, all the ones you want to focus on, not that all of these aren't important, but I would say, maybe the first 6 or 7 here are really where most of the focus points. The other way to look at that is, where do we not put our resources? The other side of that coin were things like student transportation, preschool, recruitment and talented programming, technology, and so on down the line. What I will say about this, though, is that the wrong way to use this data is to use it as an evaluation. So this is nothing about whether these programs are going well or not. That's not what the goal asked. So for instance, if I go back up to the top, and I'm particularly happy with your CTE shop program. I love it, I think it's going great. Then I may choose that, because I want you to keep the train on the tracks, keep the momentum going. I love it, great. I want you to put your resources there. But the same could be said if I don't think it's going well. If I think that program is not as good as it used to be, or whatever the case may be, then I may say, yeah, I really want you to put your focus there. So you can't say whether something's going well or not based on whether people choose it, because both of those items can be true. Same thing at the bottom of the list. Because for preschool students, that's really, really, really important for the people that it's really, really, really important for. But once your child is old enough that they can stay home by themselves after school, or they're old enough to kind of fend for themselves, or they're enrolled in holiday 5A, or whatever the case may be, it doesn't mean that it's going poorly. It just means that I may not need that service anymore, so I may not check it. So again, not to sound like a broken record, but you can't use this as an evaluation for how any of these programs are going. You can only say, regardless of how well we're doing, is this a place where people feel like they should focus their time on? So putting all that data together, I'm going to look at this in 2 ways. First, just looking at scores without any reference to how many districts you're doing better than. Where did your parents tell you that you're doing the best? Those 5 items, what? Being the way you're keeping up school facilities. 2, second highest scoring item, actually a tie here. My child feels safe at school, and I feel welcome in my child's school. 4th on the list, school staff treat my child with dignity and respect. And 5th, I have at least one school staff member I feel comfortable contacting when I have an idea or concern. I'll pause here and say that I don't know if there's any English teachers in the room, but let me just go to my animal farm reference for and say that all of our questions are equal, it's just that some are more equal than others. There's some of them here that I think that's the case. If my child doesn't feel safe at school, and I don't feel welcome there, and it's not safe, it's really hard for you to make progress in any other area. I mean, that's like a foundational area where you have to have that going well if you hope to make any other progress in any other area. So the fact that you have some areas that have to be going well before anything else will go well in your top 5, that's 2 thumbs up. That's really, really good news, because that's kind of a hurdle that you've cleared to go on to some of the other items that you can then improve. What are those other items? Well, the blessing and the curse of the list is sometimes up top, something's got to be at the bottom. That's just how lists work, right? The good news here, though, is even your bottom scoring item is above 3. So even your bottom scoring item is in your agreement range and getting into that strongly agree range. And again, that's not common, and this is a really good thing. So I'm not going to minimize the fact that parents are telling you that they want more opportunities for involvement, and they want to see their satisfaction be improved with efforts to address bullying. I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. That's your parents are telling you they want help. At the same time, I do want to celebrate that even the things that aren't going as well, compared to many other districts, are going well. Another way to look at that is by comparison percentiles. So now we're setting aside your score, and now we're saying, well, what items are you doing better than the most or the largest chunk of districts? My child feels safe at school. You're doing better than 86% of other districts. School communication is both timely and transparent. We're doing better than 79% of other districts. 2 that are very close, 77th and 76% percentile respectively. The school teaches with materials that reflect my family's cultural and racial backgrounds, and I feel welcome in my child's school. And then at the 72nd percentile, school staff treat my child with dignity and respect. Flip that coin over, there's only 2 items, I mentioned this earlier on, there's only 2 items where more districts are doing better than you, and you're doing better than other districts. And those are the 2 at the bottom here. If my child breaks a rule at school, they are treated fairly. 54% of other districts are doing better than you on that metric. And then I know how to support my child's learning. 78% of other districts are doing better than you. Finally then, on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely would you be to recommend our schools to a friend or family member? Because I will purposely sound like a broken record here. Getting over 8 is not common as well. You're at a score of 8.08. You can see that below. Your comparison of your pool is like 5, which means you're doing better than nearly 3/4 of this pool. That's one way to look at the data. Another way to look at that data is just by that average. So neutral is fine. Your average is 8.08. So you're well above neutrality at this point. People are much more likely to recommend you than they are not. And you can see that in the third way of looking at this data, which is my eyeball. You can see there's a lot more greens and a lot of reds. The fourth way to look at this data is just by doing some simple addition. So what I do is I start up at the top, and I take my 10s, my 9s, my 8s, and I simply add them together. So if I take 34 and 26, you're at 60%, add another 13, you're at 73%. Maybe that right? 40, 60? Yeah, 73%. So nearly 3/4 of your parents who took the survey are giving you an 8 or 9 or a 10. And the reason I do that is folks that put themselves in one of those 3 numbers, research based this one suggests that they act as ambassadors on your behalf. What does that mean? It means that they will go out and talk all the district without you having to do anything to get them to do so. You don't have to motivate them to do so, they're already there. So they're the ones that are gonna stop people in the concession stand line. They're the ones that are gonna stop people, at the homecoming game or whatever the case may be. And they will talk well about what's going on in the school district of Bullseye. And once again, you don't have to do anything because they're already in the ambassadors. Nearly 3/4 are there. I don't want to minimize the 6 and 7s. They certainly have a positive connotation. They're just not one to strike up a conversation about it. But just to continue your math, 85% is where I end up of folks that took your survey that are more likely to recommend you than not. So those are the 4 ways I like to slice and dice this. I'm going to pause for questions. Actually, I have to take a sip of water and pause for questions. One that I want to echo on, usually I get this on parent survey or staff student or parent, is you said comparisons. What is our comparison pool? How many are there? Not every district chooses to use all those questions. Some districts modify them, some delete, some edit or whatnot. So it's not the exact same end value for each, but I did look before we started, and it's about 125 to about 140 districts, depending on the question.
So what questions do you have, Board?
That was a lot of information.
There was a lot of information.
I don't have any questions, I just think it's fantastic data.
No,
How,
it felt
shows
good.
how well I is doing.
I like the
Which is
fact
not a
that we
surprise to
can
me.
line it up with the strategic plan. I think we can.
So I have a question about, I know how to support my child's learning, and we're at the 22 percentile comparison. Is that data tightly correlated, so if we change it just a tiny fraction, we'll move? Or is it, because 22, and we have a 3.94 and an 88%, and we're still at 22.
Yeah, my guess is yes. Let me take a look for it.
While he's looking at that, just so you know, we have spent, as an administrative team, we spent a lot of time in our administrative retreat going through these data and then breaking it down even further, right? Looking at the different schools, what's high at different schools, what are areas of strength, what are areas of growth. And you'll start seeing some of those on the school report, our balanced scorecards next year for each of our district, or else the buildings, because it's not the same across each building as well.
Right.
So for example, one of the examples I would give is our buildings are clean and well kept. Which building do you think that parents feel is the least well kept building? The one that was built in 1958,
It
right?
looks- it
I mean,
looks
you have,
older.
all the rest of them are pretty new,
Right.
right? So, I mean, you walk in the primary school, and kids walk in the primary school, they have their first 3 years up there,
Sure.
4 years
New
up there.
building.
and then they walk into the elementary school, and it's just a different physical feeling, right? Not that it's not a good building, and not that there's not great education going on there, but there's a read, right? So that's something that, you know, Eric and his staff have to overcome, they have nothing to do with. But, so that was one of the areas that, like, that was a building that was lower. Well, and then when you start parsing that out, like, well, that makes sense. I totally understand why people would think that, right? And then you walk into the high school, you know, you've been at the primary school and you go to the high school for some things. The high schools also look so modern, and right, and you go back to the elementary. So there's just some things like that I kind of, so we'll continue to dig in those some more as well.
Yeah, they go from the newest to the oldest.
Yeah, right.
Going back to the previous question, I'm just looking over on my other screen here. So 2 thoughts about that. One, you're right, it is very clustered, so you're 7/100ths of a point away from the average. So figure, you know, as linear, you're looking at about 7 percentiles, no, 9 percentiles per 100th of a point. The other thing, so you're right, you're at 85% agreement. The strange thing about that is you actually have a lot more agree than strongly agree. So you so to feed that, about 20% of about 85% strongly agree, and the remaining 65% to go agree. So that's why it's lowering that score a little bit, and lowering intervals. Whereas like the next question, for instance, I have at least one school staff member I feel comfortable contacting, 40% strongly agree. So not only is data slightly clustered, but you have a little bit more regular agree, but you do strongly agree on that particular question.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Rob. It's really interesting, and I appreciate that you sort of gave context and gave us ideas for the way to, I guess, look at the information you're presenting. I just wondered, generally, if the data is skewed a certain way when people take these tests, or not these tests, these surveys, excuse me, because people who maybe feel really strongly one way or another might be more inclined to actually fill out a survey like this, so I wonder how that skews the information that we see.
Yeah, a couple thoughts about that. To what extent, I call it my US cellular problem. I never call US cellular and tell them I'm doing a good job or they're doing a good job. Just kind of expected. So you do run into that a little bit, but I find, you know, there's kind of 2 poles that'll take a survey. If people are mad at you, they're usually really excited to tell you why they're mad. If people are really happy with you, they're generally pretty excited to tell you what's going well, particularly if they want to leave comments. So is there a missing middle there? Had your response rate been lower, I would have been more concerned about that. But the number, just a raw number, the 580 respondents, once you got past 400, I really was pretty unconcerned. And the fact that you're right there on average at 33%, I think you can extrapolate that pretty well to then being able to say, in general, this is how most of our parents feel. So I don't have a lot of concern about that, just because of the raw numbers that you had there from the
Thank you.
I have a question. What is your recommendation as to how frequently the district engages in these surveys? You know, what kind of a timeline in between this one and the next one to kind of evaluate if we're doing moving in the right direction or the wrong direction?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I tell people I would never pay us to do it more than once a year. I think any sooner than that, and there's just not enough time to feel a change. Sometimes even with parents, sometimes even a year feels good to me, and I don't know if that is or not. So usually when people do staff and student surveys, they do them every year. Just a little bit easier of a target range to maintain response rates. Parents, I wouldn't do that any more frequently than annually. Some districts do them every 2 years. Reason being is, you know, you look at this data, then maybe over the next few months, you decide what you're gonna do about the data, you know, what interventions are you gonna make, what are you gonna prioritize. Then you implement whatever intervention you make, and then after you implement it, then people have to feel it. Enough time has to go by, where they have to feel the change. And sometimes if people do it more than annually, or it gets too tight, I just get worried that maybe they've done something well, but the data doesn't change enough, and then they say, oh, that didn't work, and the answer is, well, no, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, it's just that there may not have been enough time that passed for people to feel the change, and it might still go on. So, I guess that's a rambling way to say, I think you could justify doing it every year. We have a lot of districts that do it every other year, and I think these are the most. I think one more into that. I guess sometimes it depends on, for instance, we worked with BOE this past fall, and they did a staff soup, and they were thinking about doing a parent survey, but they also knew that they were gonna have a referendum survey all at the same time, and they wanted to avoid survey fatigue and survey confusion. So they may do more regular parent surveys, but just for the sake of maintaining focus on the referendum at the moment, they're gonna do staff and students every year, and parents every other year, or at least change it up a little bit when they have a referendum. So it might change a little bit depending on what we have coming out the pipe from our perspective, and that may change my perspective as well. Just, or doing them at different times of year, if possible, just to make sure people don't think, oh, I already took a school survey, I'm gonna toss this one out, where in actuality it might be for a completely different purpose.
Any other questions?
I don't think so.
Very clear.
Rob, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and thanks for your patience as we work through some technology difficulties. You always do such an excellent job walking through all that data. There's a lot of it, so.
Well, tell all your superintendent friends, we're always looking at
I don't have that many superintendent friends.
Thank you.
On that note, I'm gonna take off.
Yeah, thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion, you wanna talk about that, or?
That's just a lot of data and it's,
It is.
I mean, it's
A
just,
lot of really good data.
it is. It's
Good as in
interesting.
quality, but also good as in results.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And I
think,
just like how people see stuff, you know, because if you see that, like, there is a healthy culture at our school,
Yep.
87%, but then they don't like how, I mean, according to that, but he said obviously that, the bowling one, you know, so it's interesting to just see kind of,
Well, and three is average.
yeah,
We are above that,
yeah, yeah,
everything.
yeah,
Yes.
That's fantastic, I think.
no, it is.
Well, and what makes me feel good is I've been on the board long enough now to know how it felt when it seemed, again, like he said, if you're pleased with something, you don't tell people. You tell people when you're not pleased. So it's just really nice to see that balance. And the administrative team have already done your retreat, or?
yeah, so we had
Yeah.
this same presentation about a month ago from Rob, because like the survey results came out just after our last board meeting.
Right.
So we had a meeting with Rob, I shared the results with the staff, because we always try to communicate inside out. And then we broke the survey down even more, spent time looking at it with the administrative team, and we'll continue to look at, following up with different pieces of it. As I said, you'll be seeing some pieces of it reflected in our balanced scorecard next year as we move forward, if there's something we really feel. But I think it's also really key to do, as he talked about, it's really easy to get caught on one of those pieces, like the percentile rank
Yes.
is this, and like,
Right.
wow, we're at the 46th percentile rank, but then you look at 9 out of 10 of our parents think we're doing a really good job of it,
Right.
right? So, it's trying to balance those out and make sure that you're not just reacting to one piece of data, you're looking at it as a whole. And you're not spending a whole lot of resources trying to move, 9 out of 10 of your parents are liking what you're doing. You're gonna spend a lot of resources trying to get 10 out of 10, right? You're never gonna get 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
So that's something as we walk through this, is trying to just make sure that, again, we utilize our time and resources wisely and with our staff wisely.
And
But,
Eric has to show them the new roof before they feed the rest of them.
That was just an example. So I think it does reflect very well on, our staff, on our administrative team, and on our school board. I think they're all rated very highly, and,
No, it was nice to
and-
see that those were about the same,
Yeah.
there wasn't one group
Right.
that was, you know,
And we have to say, we have incredible students, because when you think about how good a school looks, we have great maintenance, yes, but you can only go as far as the people.
respective.
Yeah, they're respectful of the place and they
Yeah.
keep it.
Yeah, we had great kids and great families.
Yeah.
It's a great community and a very supportive community of our school district, and it shows. And so, yeah, it was good, but there's, again, some things we can always get better at.
Yeah, always room for improvement.
Numbers are-
All right, so as I stated earlier, we were offline, so we did go through our consent agenda, and I did wanna state that we did not really discuss anything. I just pretty much ran through it, so I didn't want anybody in the public thinking that we discussed anything that you missed. We do not have any public input tonight, so then we are going to move down to our administrative reports. And we're gonna start with Lodi Primary School.
All right, good evening. So a couple of highlights. We had an awesome end of the year with lots of different events that you can kind of see featured here. One item that I'm just going to share out too is today was the first day of summer school, so it went very well. There was a great turnout from kids, and so there's some things on Facebook and things that we're putting out, but it was a great, very successful first day of school.
Awesome.
So, yeah, just
Good
want to
to
highlight
hear.
that. For Pillar 1, preparing for the future, each year the teachers have an SLO that goes directly towards our scorecard, but sometimes, like on our scorecard, we have certain items like that 4K is working on that is not in a formal assessment like iReady. So just wanted to highlight the success that the teachers had for those SLOs, because each of the grade level teams has the same SLO, so that we're working together on those items.
Nice.
So you can see some of those different things here, but kind of just a big celebration was the 4K and the work that they did to ensure that our students know their uppercase letters. And then they also were really diving into lowercase letters, which just creates that foundation for the next year. So, and these other ones, the sight words, the teachers were, the students met their goal for that, as well as for the iReady. And those two, for first grade and second grade, are directly in our scorecard. Nurturing the whole student, the Strive with Lodi Pride, that also was amazing event that we had. And from the funds, the students, they got to pick what they wanted to have this year, and there were 2 items. One was an ice cream truck, and the other was a bouncy house. So we had the ice cream truck, the bouncy house, we had a rain situation, so we're actually gonna be planning a fall field day event, and we're gonna have the 3rd graders are gonna come back for that particular, so that they also can participate in it, so. And then one other thing that I really had not highlighted a lot yet this year was our Reading Pals program. We have a lot of individuals, these women here, that all volunteer to come every single Thursday, and to work with some students and just sit and create just a positive relationship with the students, as well as practice reading or read to the students, so just have them on that.
Thank you for posting the goals, and thank you for smashing those goals.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
It took a lot of work, I'm sure.
The teachers worked really hard, and students. So, thank you.
Thank you. Lodi Elementary OSC.
Hello, good to see you. So a couple things. This time of year, it's always good to think back on what our purpose is and our mission. So I put the districts there, and then also just our definition that we kind of bring our staff back to about our learning environment. And what we try to live out. And then a big part of that, if you scroll down, Tyler, is we understand that no significant learning occurs without a significant relationship. And because of that, we really work on focusing on building a learning community, that keeps us grounded in the important work of education. And that starts with knowing our students and seeing where they're at and helping them grow. And then field day happened, and so that takes a lot of work, especially from Cody Andrus and Deanne Kleinschmidt and Kathy Klinke, to name a few. We also had a family, the Hensiak family donated the Kona ice truck, and so we just had a really great time finishing out our school year together. We had beautiful weather. The kids did a great job. To get to interact with a lot of other different kids in the school and a lot of the different staff members. So it was a beautiful day. Also, towards the end of the year, we, the special education staff and regular education staff work hard on covering our assistants' duties for one time so they can have a lunch together. And so we kind of set up a little table for them and some flowers and make it special because we know that they are the heart of the work that we do. I don't think anyone in the building gets to know what's happening in the building more than them. They're everywhere. They work directly with students. And so we really appreciate all the work that our educational assistants do. And then gratitude from me. Thank you for believing in me. And then this year I decided to give a little top 10 takeaways, things I've learned from year 2 in Lodi. So one thing I've learned is we have a very supportive and involved community. Number 2, our students are our most valuable gift, and staff, administrators, and the school board and this community know it. Staff in Lodi are Olympic caliber. They are passionate about their content. They are skilled educators, and they use their passions and skills in a student-focused approach. I am surrounded by exemplary leaders. Lodi pride is hard to define, and yet great to experience. In a world that is fast-paced and scary at times, we work hard to make our district a safe place that always has time for people, which I think you really noticed in our survey results. And then the volunteerism is alive and well in Lodi. There's a lot of people who come in our building daily and do different things from math facts to reading with kids to volunteering to share their expertise. Generosity is the norm, right? From random donations to Stride with Lodi Pride to donating snacks, paying for negative lunch accounts. This community is very generous. There's something special in Lodi about the ongoing belief that we can get to common ground through conversations. That's rare to find. And then also, like Mr. Barnick says, the best is yet to come. So, yeah,
Thank you.
still learning in Lodi here.
All right, and Derek is not here tonight, so we're gonna move on to Lodi High School.
All right, thanks, Heather. First of all, just to highlight some of our graduation week activities that our seniors were able to participate in. First of all, I want to thank Amy, Eric, and Derek for opening up their schools to our seniors for their graduation walk, and all the teachers. And it's not just them showing up, but they're creating posters, and they're doing all kinds of things to make our seniors feel really special. And again, that is, for many of them, a highlight of their weekend, even though the ceremony they love, but the walk through the schools is pretty special. So you see a lot of
I think it's an
pictures.
awesome tradition.
Yes.
I think it is.
And we had some senior parents that were tagging along this year, which is a first, kind of hanging out in the parking lots, taking pictures as well, which was fun.
I was not. I was trying to stay away.
Next.
Not enough.
I wanted to thank Diane Luke for, she's our food service director, for making 3 huge cakes for our seniors for their graduation practice picnic that they have. So really appreciate her. And she's done that several times for staff, for students during the school year, and it's all just homemade, really, really good stuff. So I appreciate her. Graduation commencement ceremony, I think all of you were there, so I appreciate you being there. It takes a lot of work to put it together. There are a couple names I want to highlight as far as staff members. Pam Cunningham, my admin assistant, she spends countless hours getting things ready for that. Jason Marshall, associate principal, but he's also kind of like the technical director. And we had some issues with our new sound system. It wasn't set up correctly the way we needed it to, but he took care of that, and no one would have known except for me announcing it now. But he took care of some really important things right before the ceremony. I appreciate it. And then, of course, Mr. Poles for being the senior class speaker. Senior class advisors, Mason Kittleson and Michelle Poles, a lot of the work that they have to do to get ready. Obviously, Mr. Breinig and Heather for being there, willing to speak on behalf of the school board and the district. I really appreciate you guys. Photographers, Audrey Parpart, Hallie Jelinek was able to take pictures on the bridge. Audrey Parpart not only takes pictures during graduation, she takes pictures during the ceremony, she takes pictures at the picnic, she takes pictures at the walk, and if you have an athlete in the district or someone that's participated in all of the other activities, she takes thousands of pictures every year and shares them with everyone. So I really appreciate what she's done over the years. This has been like 5 or 6 years that she's done that for our families. And even when you go to the class of 2024 senior tribute on our website, all of those pictures are there. So I really appreciate everything that she does, because she creates memories for our parents and for our students. If you go to the next page, we did have some student athletes that participated in state tournaments. So I did highlight a little bit of the track team. There were lots of kids. There were a lot of boys that went. There was one girl that was able to make state this year. I know Jason's going to talk a little bit about this in the co-curricular report, but some of the highlights for senior Zach Nyquist placed 3rd in the 300 hurdles. Isaiah Groskopf placed 8th in the shot put. Freshman Bennett Nyquist, so Zach's little brother, placed 4th in the long jump, so as a freshman, that's pretty impressive. Sophomore Izzy Bai placed 7th in the discus, and the boys 4x100 took 7th place, which was awesome, and they set a new school record. The most impressive performance was from senior Gavin Sargent, who placed 2nd in the long jump, and he was he again was the state champion in the triple jump. And he set a state record in the triple jump.
Twice.
So that was very
Twice.
impressive.
He beat it, and then he beat us again.
Yes, he beat it in his
himself.
first jump, and then he did it I think on his 3rd jump, he beat his record. So, very impressive for Gavin, and congratulations to his parents. Both teams Actually, the boys team placed fifth, which was very respectable, and they were the only team to beat Lakeside Lutheran, who won the state championship, so they beat them in a dual meet earlier on in the year. State golf meet. So, senior Kogan Barron qualified for the state golf tournament at Black Wolf Run Meadows course in Kohler. Not an easy course. He placed sixth. He tied. I thought he tied for sixth.
No.
Mom says it was seventh. Okay.
He scooted out of that, and that
Okay,
was fun.
and I noticed in Jason's co-curricular report it was seventh, so we're gonna just say it's seventh place, but that was still really impressive out of 52 golfers.
Yeah, blast. It
So
was fun.
congratulations to Kogan, his parents, and his coaches. Next part, some student success. This is kind of an update. I wanted to highlight Mason Yates. He was able to get through 4 Microsoft Office. He's a 4 Microsoft Office specialists in Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and Access, and he did that in business education class, Sue Ziegler's class, so all of his work, and then those are some of the other students that earned that certificate, so that was really impressive for them. Also in the classroom, we did have some visitors in some of our classes, and there's AP Pre-Calculus, which was a new class this year, we had some visitors, but then going to Healthy Lifestyles, which is the class that's run by Michelle Poles, they were able to have their pen pals come in, and that's always a fun event, because there are a lot of older people in our community that have a lot of life experience that our kids need to learn from, and Michelle gives them that opportunity, so I appreciate that. Some senior parents, I wanted to quick thank Shauna Wyman, who is the person that generates the senior yard signs that go out on Sauk Street, so she gives us a really good deal on those. She was able to be there. Brian Costa and Brenda Linz were able to set those up for us this year. And then I do want to thank Lodi Music Boosters, Lodi Athletic Boosters, Lodi FFA Alumni Association, and the Lodi Optimist Club for donating some funds to help us pay for those. So I appreciate those organizations for that help. And then finally, the advocate video, the last one of the year. If you'd like to click on that and watch, feel free. That'll be it. Thank you.
So, thank you. Curriculum.
Okay.
Well, no.
Follow that.
Oh, that curriculum.
The very first one on here just gives the community and the board an update. You know, all the time we think about the school year is over and educators are on summer break, but we do have a process here in the school district of Lodi where educator teams can put together proposals through a Google form that goes to the administrative team to have some summer curriculum hours, so some paid time to come together to either receive professional development or create curricular resources or do trainings together. And so we set aside a portion of the standard curriculum council budget for this, and we vet those requests, and then we send those approvals out. And so here's just a list of some of the work that's happening this summer. Let's see that.
Busy.
I would say.
Lots of things going on, which is awesome. The next one is just another update from, this was in my board report last time, just giving you a heads up that this is coming, but the curriculum committee of the board officially approved my perspectives as the new middle school literacy program for the upcoming school year and moving forward. And as you may recall, the full board previously had allocated funds from ESSER 3 to pay for that. So we are excited our teachers are excited. That is definitely by majority the one that they chose, and they're excited to get the resources and the training to go with that. And then the last one, there's so much positive in the board's reports, I thought I had to throw a little bit of a negative one in there, and I asked one of the administrators here if they wanted to take this one, but nobody picked it up. Unfortunately, we received a call it was actually, I think, right in May, right after our last board meeting, we received a call from the Department of Public Instruction giving us a heads up that we had for the upcoming school year, we fall into a different tier in the federal Title I formula. So the federal Title I funds, we get every year we apply for those, and we get funds from the federal government that are earmarked for supporting students who may have struggles in the area of math or literacy. So we are required, for example, in literacy to provide early interventions to students who struggle in reading, and you have to have a teacher who has a 316 reading specialist license to do that. So our Title I funds historically in Lodi have always paid portions or all the salary of our literacy specialists at the primary and the elementary school. The formula is really seated in two pillars. One is just the number of students you have, but they also look at the level of affluence or poverty in your district. And so we had a very slight shift in the level of affluence in the most recent census data within our community, but that very slight shift moved us into a different tier of the formula calculation, resulting in a 45.71% reduction in our Title I funds from the previous school year, which equates to a reduction in about $42,000. This was impacted kind of across the state, and so you see the additional note there, just indicating that Wisconsin lost about $14 million in Title I allocation going into next school year. So this is,
Well, thanks for ending with that.
Yeah.
yeah. Last time I shared some positive news about the grant that we received.
Yeah.
Yes.
You gotta take the good with the bad, right?
Yeah, it's not a good call to receive, but Brent took it, so that was all.
Sorry, I lost my spot here. Let's do LCAT.
So, report for June 2024 LCAT. LCAT sent out an informational letter to parents and guardians of graduating seniors that had tips on hosting a safe celebration and remind them about underage drinking laws in Wisconsin. This letter was sent in conjunction with the school administration and the Lodi Police Department. LCAT provided the school nurses with Deterra to help dispose of leftover medication at the end of the school year. Deterra is a drug deactivation system that neutralizes medication effectively and safely. This Deterra and medication lockboxes are available to all community members, free. LCAT receives funding to purchase this from the State Opioid Response Grant. LCAT was able to purchase a permanent drug drop-off box for the Lodi Police Department. This new box is located in the lobby of the Lodi Police Department. The purpose of this box is to provide a year-round location for community members to take their unwanted and expired medication. Our goal is to keep extra medication out of the hands of not only our kids, but everybody. The funding for this box was provided by a state opioid grant. LCAT received a mini grant from the in-depth program in the amount of $300. This money will be used to offset costs associated with the in-depth program, such as class materials for students. Brian was contacted by the Luxembourg Casco School District and I don't know if I said that right, and the Montello School District concerning the in-depth program. Both districts heard about Lodi School District's success with the program and wanted more information on how to set up a program at their school.
Nice.
Yeah, LCAT is always happy to assist other school districts and share our successes here in Lodi. LCAT provided classroom materials for the middle school and high school guidance counselors. Books and other educational materials were provided about topics such as substance use and bullying. This funding was provided by the DPI AODA grant. And finally, LCAT provided classroom materials to the middle school life skills teacher. Materials on substance use topics were purchased. Botvin Life Skills books were also again purchased for the next school year. Funding for these items are also provided by the DPI opiate grant. That's it.
Nice, thank you. And then student report, but Caleb is not here.
Caleb has had, if you look at his report, there's
That's
some
nice.
leadership opportunities, and one of them is Badger Boys State, and he is attending that.
Oh, great.
He was chosen as the representative, so
Way to go, Caleb.
congratulations to Caleb.
Yeah, along with, it says Blake Simpson and Kyle Hoffman too.
Nice.
And then Andy Luckey got picked for the Wisconsin Leadership Seminar, so awesome. All right, and student services.
Thank you. On Thursday, May 23rd, 16 bus drivers and personnel from Cobussen participated in the Youth Mental Health First Aid Training course.
Awesome.
In addition to the Cobussen staff, Sarah McChesney, who is the new LCAT coordinator, was also able to complete the full-day course. I just want to thank Christine Betcher from Cobussen for partnering with the school district for this training and providing that time for her bus drivers to attend the training. Next, I want to update you on the Transition Readiness Grant. So at the beginning of this school year, we secured money through this grant in a couple of different areas. So the first is Competitive Integrated Employment Training Programs. So we had two students attending Sauk Prairie Works, and the students completed 3 rotations at Sauk Prairie Hospital. We also had one student attending Camp Creatability, and this is a training facility to give opportunities to gain individualized instruction and job placements in the arts and entertainment industry. We also had grant money was also funded some coursework for 3 students at post-secondary placements. And one of those students will be completing their coursework at Madison College this summer and will be earning a certificate in the trades. This grant also provided an opportunity for 6 of our current staff members to be able to complete a self-paced online course through UW Whitewater. And that course was entitled Implementing Post-Secondary Transition Plan, Best Practices in the IEP. The PTP is a required part of an IEP team planning process and the IEP documents for all students who receive special education services beginning when they are 14 years old and moving on. This team, we will also be meeting, this cohort, this group of people that took the course will be meeting in the upcoming school year to examine and improve our processes around students and parent involvement and the best practices at school in this area. And lastly, graduation ceremony was held on June 4th for students who graduated the Sauk Prairie Works program. And students had, Lodi had 2 students graduate from the program, and both of those students are in their final stages of securing sustainable employment in our area.
That's awesome. Thank you. District Administrator report.
Yeah, I just want to thank our students, our staff, and our families for a great 2023-24 school year. The school year officially wrapped up for students on May 22nd and for staff on May 23rd. On May 23rd, we were also able to recognize our retirees from the district. A special thank you to them for their tremendous impact they've had on our students, our schools, and in our school community while they've been here. Our retirees were Paula Enger from Lodi Community Action Team, Teresa Dolson, first grade teacher, Lisa Stone, second grade teacher, and Kathy Trinan, a high school administrative assistant. So we were able to honor them at the last day, but we would thank them for their service and all they've done for our district. As we know, we had our gallery walk last time we met, so the administrative team, as I mentioned, we've done our administrative retreat, and we're working through stoplighting the district and school scorecards and starting that process all over again. So we are in the process of building our new scorecards for next year, so that's something that the board will be seeing in September as we work through that initial stages, and then those get turned over to the schools, and the school meet with staff to help build those scorecards for each of the buildings. Board professional development, as we have discussed, we've been trying to find some time to work with Drew Horwick, who met with the board 2 years ago for professional development. Like we work with our staff on professional development, our board, we should do the same thing. We've been able to schedule that first date with Drew. It'll be August 14th from 5:30 to 8. And we'll start with a meal and then go into that. We'll be working on setting up a second date because we couldn't find a second date with all the dates we sent you. I reached out to Drew today for some more dates after August 14th, and we will, so you'll be looking for another poll to come out, and we will just continue to work until we find another date that everybody can make it.
It was really beneficial last time.
Yeah, and we just, everybody has to be
great.
there,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
just we gotta make sure it works for everybody.
It's fun.
Well, thank you guys for figuring out those dates. Well, I'm sure that was real.
And then just a reminder, I know I hate to think about it, but July 4th is coming, and the district is really closed that week. We close the district office for cleaning that week, and all the other buildings are closed, so just to let our public know that we're closed that week. That's it.
All right, thank you. President report. I want to start by apologizing to our new board members for not officially welcoming them to their first board meeting last month. I personally congratulated them and have welcomed them, especially since I've known both of them for years now. But I did not include it in my president's report last month, and I felt awful about it afterwards. I'm excited for them to bring a new perspective to the board and looking forward to making decisions with them that is best for our students and best for our district. So here is your official welcome, and I guess late is better than nothing, which unfortunately, if you know me personally, I say that very often because I'm late a lot. So congratulations to Sarah and Teresa. It's hard to believe that school has already been out for a couple of weeks, and yet life has not slowed down for most of us. Our teachers may be off for the summer, but since being on the board, I've learned that is not technically the case. Our teachers do not stop caring about our students when it's summer, so even though they may not be in the classroom as much in the summer, they're still planning, working with their fellow teachers, updating and/or learning new curriculum, and working on always being the best for our students. And we cannot forget about our administration too. They are some of the hardest working people I know, and Lodi is lucky to have them. Thank you to all the staff here at Lodi School District. I know summer school is about to be in full swing. Some activities for our kids just got done, and the new seasons have started. I am a firm believer in keeping kids busy so they stay out of trouble. But we all know that everyone, especially our youth, needs downtime. Take it from a mother that will only have 1 out of her 4 children home starting in September. That time flies, and make sure you take that time to enjoy the moments with your kids. Even that quick dinner before practice, that little bit of time before they go to bed, or those few minutes when they are just waking up can be time well spent. Listen to them when they are actually talkative, no matter what you are doing. Be an active role in their life, which I know can be very difficult when you are competing against friends, summer activities, and technology. Be their safe zone, and remember, even if they are not telling you, that you are important to them and you are the biggest influence in their lives. I want to thank all the parents that took time to fill out that survey that we discussed in tonight's meeting. I know those kinds of things are important to all of us, but it can be hard to dedicate that time out of our busy schedules to answer the questions and put thought into your comments. Please know that the board and district are listening. We will not be able to make everyone happy at all times, but please know that all of you are important to the success of our district. Communication is the key to working together so our students get the best education and experiences possible at the Lodi School District. We will continue to ask for your opinions. We urge you to please keep letting us know your thoughts on things, and we ask that you understand that we always have the best intention for our students. I feel that if we all, teachers, administration, board members, community members, and parents, go in remembering and acknowledging that we all want what is best, our conversations, our decisions, and our overall attitude will be better, and all of those things will lead to our kids' success. All right, so now we are going to our professional practice goals.
Over the past several years, the School District of Lodi has created several opportunities for staff to participate in guided professional practice goals. Those goals are linked to the staff compensation model and are linked to our strategic plan. The district is once again planning to offer staff these option and participate in structured PPGs. The options being considered for the upcoming year are listed in the agenda. The options, are going to support what we're trying to work on in the district in regards to strategic plan. We went over these at the Personnel Committee, and they unanimously moved them to the full board. But I'm going to have the administrators just briefly summarize each of the PPGs. So I will start with Community Connections Business Partnerships.
You can start if you want to, and
Sure.
I can add.
So Community Connection Business Partnerships is a goal that we've had in the past. Individuals who sign up for this goal get to support one of 2 areas. I run the section of the goal that focuses on classroom business community partnerships, so connecting with a regional business, and they come into the classroom and talk to students about things like employability skills, talk to students about job opportunities within their area and field of work. And it's been successful. You'll see a lot of posters around town of different businesses that connect with our classrooms. You'll see a lot of pictures on Facebook because both of those 2 things are requirements of our teachers if you have a community partnership. So.
And in addition to the preparing for the career fair, which is gonna, I think, happen the Friday of homecoming week in the morning, and preparing for the jobs fair, which happens in the spring, Anyone that would sign up for that part of the Community Connections will also have to make one business partnership and have to come into their classroom at least one time this year.
And I think that's great timing, homecoming week, because I feel like it's all
Yes.
kind of their minds aren't really into that, so having something like that is, I think, perfect timing.
Yes.
And just being one of those presenters last year, it was really nice. I mean, they were prepared and they wanted to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I may reach out to board members
Yeah, that's fine.
before then, or
I
at
wanna
least
try
in
and make it
July,
work this time.
to see if you'd like to come in and present, so.
No, it's a lot of fun.
Professional learning communities.
I can take that one as well. Professional learning communities has been a focus for the district over the past few years. It's an opportunity for teacher teams to come together and talk about teaching and learning and how to help all students find success and review academic data where we can be responsive, helping students who already know it, and how do you provide them some enrichment, helping students who may be struggling, and how do you provide them some intervention or an opportunity to see it in another way. And these are really important conversations and are facilitated throughout the K-12 spectrum. This year, this goal will be specific to 6-12 because of another goal that I'll talk about later, which is the Act 20 goal, which will be occupying a lot of time for our K-5 staff.
Questions about that? Next one, social emotional learning, and really looking at reframing student behavior.
So our PPG for this year is called Reframing Student Behavior. If you remember from the past couple of years, our SEL PPG has really been focused on morning meeting and advisory. And through our work for the last couple of years, that's really become part of our everyday practice. So we're feeling as though we're still keeping those practices, but our staff are ready for some new learning in this area. We're going to be utilizing some curriculum through the Crisis Prevention Institute, and it is focused on reframing the way that we view student behavior and what we can do about it. So it's really talking about the impact of our own perspective, our awareness, our actions, and the relationships we make, and how those can impact student behavior.
Act 20.
I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. So, obviously with the PPG, we're looking at teachers of professional practice goal, and this ties directly to what, the 4K through 5 certified staff are doing with the Keys to Literacy. The training for Keys to Literacy is 48.5 hours. And so Mr. Schmidt and myself, Mr. Carls and Mr. Ronning, we've tried to look to see like where can we put that in the regular collaboration day, staff meeting, but we still need time. So we felt this would be a really great opportunity to do kind of both of those things. So the teachers will be completing their PPG, but also be doing the training, you know, throughout the years.
Multitasking.
Yeah.
You guys, teachers
Credit.
know a few things about multitasking.
Yes. So it really is, the time that we're doing is to complete some of the module work in order to help make sure the teachers are prepared for the facilitated sections that we have throughout the year.
Nice.
No, I was just saying, it really was an ask, this was a direct ask from teachers that are
Oh,
doing
yeah.
the training. Don't make us do multiple things.
That's what we were talking about, the personnel.
On
when we
our
heard
focus.
those, It was,
Yeah.
sounded great, because you guys always have so much on your plate already.
Grow your mission.
Yeah, so Grow Your Mission is a PPG that we started last year. We did a pilot of it, and it was focused on, it came out of a request from staff about leadership and also about their pursuing some areas of focus that they were passionate about. And so we kind of combine those. We do limit this one to 20 seats, but what happens is we have some shared learning. About 1/3 of our time together on our meetings is focused on some shared leadership. And then also the 2/3 of our time is focused on their area of focus. And then they get to then use that time and what they are learning in their passion area to be able to present or to give back to either team or to their building or to the district. Obviously, we feel that those requests based off of alignment with the strategic plan and how many proposals are per building and things like that.
And there's another one that we will do for our educational assistants, universal strategies for academic behavior and independence. So, we haven't really fleshed that all the way out yet. Still working on that. The other ones we spent more time on because people get to make choices. For educational assistants, we'll don't have a choice, they'll have a choice to go on their own or just
Yeah,
do this
and
way.
that's something, that's what I was asking about, just not being a teacher or anything, how this all works, and I just thought it was interesting how you guys have said that they all have to work on something, and then Lodi kind of started, like, let's just do this together, so then they can work on something and not just be on your own necessarily, but then, if you wanna do your own thing, you can, but then this is nice just because you just get to work more and, you know, work together more too, towards the same goals.
Yeah, it moves the district ahead, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many things you can be doing. It just provides some focus and it gets movement in those different areas.
Yeah.
Right.
So we've moved the district significantly ahead in a lot of those different areas because of those work. But a
Thank
lot of
you,
the work that
guys.
they've been doing is not one-time things, right? It's
Right.
professional learning communities is an ongoing thing that you'll be working on throughout your career. And
Yeah,
but I really appreciate the leadership from
I was just gonna say
administrative
thank you
team.
guys for putting all that time into
Yeah.
that stuff too.
So we will look for approval of those.
I will make a motion to approve the proposed professional practice goals for the 2024-2025 school year.
I'll second that.
Motion by Sarah Ramus, second by Terry. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you guys again. Our draft budget.
Yeah, the Board of Education by state statute is required to act on approving a proposed budget sometime in June or prior to July 1st, and then adopting a final budget around November, usually late October. You'll see that our current data suggests that our the 24-25 proposed budget is projected to be a slight surplus, but the district is still waiting on some very important pieces, such as our student count, which happens on the third Friday in September, state aid finalization, October 15th. We'll get our estimate in July, but I've talked to the board about that a couple times. We really don't pay a whole lot of attention to our estimates because they just wildly vary. And then property value certification happens in October as well. Facility and Finance Committee reviewed the budget at their meeting on June 5th and unanimously moved it to the full board, the recommendation of approval. And Brent's here to answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, we would look for approval.
I'll move to the full board with a recommendation for approval of the 2024-2025 budget as presented.
And I'll second.
Motion by Terry, second by Adam. Any more discussion?
It's the draft budget, right, not the budget?
Yeah, it's the draft budget.
Yep.
October, the real one.
It'll happen after the annual meeting.
Budget as presented, not draft
Oh,
budget.
draft budget
Okay,
as
I don't
presented,
know.
then we should.
Okay.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, you read it right, it just didn't, that's what she was saying. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0. And yes, we probably should make sure that's draft.
Make sure everyone has that correct.
Just
in there.
checking.
She has it in the
That's-
minutes.
That's a good
Draft
catch.
budget, yep.
That would be good. Our 2024-2025 staff handbooks.
Yeah, so the Board of Education approves the staff handbook every year. Please note there's a significant amount of changes this year due to two actions of the board. The first being the board has approved many of them due to their work on the support staff compensation model and some of the different work that was done. So those approvals were made in April. Now they're just being codified into the handbook. And secondly, all the time the policy committee has spent and the board has spent putting Neola policies together. We now need those to be reflected in the handbook. So a lot of things were, taken out of the handbook or replaced by, what our current policy is. Now the Neola policy is there. So again, this was reviewed at the personnel committee and was unanimously moved to the full board. So we look for approval of that.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024-2025 School District of Lodi Staff Handbook as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion by Sarah Ramus, second by Teresa. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I just want to take a minute to say thanks to Vince for taking all of those massive amounts of policies and figuring out what parts went in and where they went in and changing them. So
Agreed.
thank you.
Yeah.
That was not easy.
And I'm sure we'll find some that we missed.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. And we do not have any first reading policies, but we do have second reading.
Yeah, so policy committee met and reviewed the following policy revisions. We asked to move them to the full board with the recommendation of approval. The board had their first reading of these policy updates at the May meeting. The board will need to act on these policies to make them active with the activation of the NOLA policies of July 1st, 2024.
Can I make this motion?
Yes, you
I
can.
move to approve the administrative guidelines and policy changes as recommended, which will go into effect on July 1st, 2024.
I'll second.
Motion by Terry, motion by Terry, second by Sarah Ramish. Any more discussion? I did notice some were completely crossed off. I'm assuming it's just because they were intertwined with other
Yeah,
ones.
they get redacted.
Okay.
So we redacted some policies.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? You guys don't want me to send back a few of those for you? Motion
Okay.
passes
That's the
7-0.
question. So last month Heather brought up the election stuff. Have you gone to legal about that?
Yeah, so we haven't had a policy meeting since then.
No.
So I have reached out to, I haven't put together a memo about it yet, but I reached out to Neola, who doesn't really have anything on that, and to our legal counsel, who shared that would be very difficult for us to enforce, right? We can put some guidelines in place, but there's
That's what I would
no
like.
way to enforce something like that, especially people who
I just-
aren't on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, let's go back. So the question was, could the board put a policy in place that would say that people don't want
Yeah.
can't be endorsed by a political party when they're running for school board? The legal answer is, really, there's no way to enforce that, and that you can make that recommendation, like we can put some guidance together that say, this is what we recommend you do, but there's no way of, even the sitting board, if somebody was on the board, went out and got a recommendation, there's nothing that we could really do to stop them from doing that legally.
Yeah, and I know Scott had said that too, and I assumed that, but I think just some guidelines would be good, just so, because when you're doing that the first time, you're having a lot come at you, and I just think it'd be good to kind of have some guidelines of what you should be, kind of what's expected. And I guess if you don't want to follow them, that's,
You also brought up that what happened to these two, what did happen to those two? Because I didn't
they
know.
got a lot of criticism for being endorsed.
On
by
Facebook?
Yes.
So somebody said something bad about somebody on Facebook?
Well,
Which
I
is
know,
the
I
normal.
know.
Surprise, surprise.
I know, but I just think it would be a good thing if we just kind of have some guidelines of what, like I
more
said,
than
I
Facebook.
want politics left out of this board.
There's more than Facebook.
What else
It
was
wasn't
it?
just Facebook, it came up at their, came up at your
Oh, yeah.
Q&A, your optimist,
Oh, yeah.
was out there during that.
Yeah,
At the forum.
and I
It's
just,
been
I mean,
discussed
just,
openly, it's not
yeah.
just Facebook.
and I just think politics should be left out of here because they're really, I mean, yes, politics comes into play in every,
It's pushing more and more
Everything
board
in
meetings,
life.
there's no question, and
Yeah.
boards across,
Nobody
not
cares
just
for.
our
Yeah.
state, but a lot of states, but,
yeah.
yeah, so we can, I haven't spent really any time, because we haven't had a policy meeting till the end of the month, so I've kind of.
And who's on policy now? Sarah,
Um,
Terry,
I'm Sharon
Scott.
and Scott.
and Scott, okay.
So we'll look at that as a possibility, and see what we can come up with.
Okay, and I'll try to be there too, just to, I mean, I try to go to all of those, but try to be, just so you guys kind of get an idea of what I might need, but it's obviously just not all about me, but I just thought it'd be a good idea to make sure that the Lodi School District Board doesn't have politics involved.
So that's the last thing. So somebody contacted me and said, do you not see hypocrisy in that? Because you took money from the Republican Party when you ran. And then you said you don't want, it seems what they were saying was, you took money from a party, but now you don't want anyone else to take money from a party when they run.
I did not take money from the party to, it was people that were involved in the party gave me money. I did not get money from the Republican Party.
Yeah, but they
And I also-
filed a report at the state that says they did give you money.
Oh, well, I never used it to say I'm a Republican or
Oh,
I'm
no,
a
of course not.
conservative.
Right, of course not.
But-
The only reason I bring all this up is, it doesn't matter if someone's a Republican or a Democrat or a libertarian or whatever, right? None of that matters when you're sitting here.
No, it doesn't.
Because it's
And I totally agree with that. I mean, we
what
can,
people do and decide that's best for kids.
yes.
It has nothing to do with politics.
No, and knowing Teresa and Sarah, when they were here, I had I was not worried about that coming into play, because I know you guys. What I didn't like is that they had this endorsement, they got their name out there more than other people were able to, which again, was fine, because I knew them, I knew they were gonna but if I didn't know them and I see all of these signs, either way, even, and you can say, oh, you took money or whatever, but what I'm saying is, if I would have never, ever wanted to be known as a Republican, a conservative out there for this election.
Right.
Because I wanted people to know that I'm not gonna go with a party line. So, something that might be considered more conservative, I'm not necessarily gonna go with that, because this is what I'm here for. I'm not here for my
You've shown that
politics.
over the time that you've been
Yeah.
on the board.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's what I just want people to kind of understand when you're running too,
Okay,
though.
but you took money from a party and then got on and didn't you were neutral, right?
Yeah.
So why shouldn't someone else take money in the future
Well,
and get
that's,
on and be neutral?
well, I mean, but see, what I'm saying is I was never on, so, for instance, on Facebook that next day, okay? It said, congratulations, the Democratic Party winners. And Teresa and Sarah were listed.
I think
that's what
the point of it is being endorsed by a political party and having it out there versus taking money from a group of individuals who may align with a party. I think that's where the distinction, maybe I'm wrong, but
Okay,
that's
so
what I'm,
I just have to speak
I
on
mean, I don't know
this.
that we have to go
So-
through this, but.
Maybe everyone's not aware, but when the Republican Party or the Democratic Party of Columbia County gives you money, it's a public record. Anybody can see it. So I can go down the whole list, and I'm not gonna name names, but I can tell you the majority of past people who have ran for school board, this school board, have gotten money from primarily, prior to us, the Republican Party. And it is listed and it's public. You can go in and look at it. Furthermore, I am a Democrat. I have no problem. We did not get money for signs. Neither of us got cash. Zero.
No, I was sent cash, but I sent it back. I refused it and wrote a thank you note and said, no, thank you, I'm not taking any cash. I just received endorsement in the form of, some postcards that were sent out on my behalf. My signs, if you saw a lot of them around town, I paid for out of my own pocket, so nobody paid for those signs. And I also did my own mailing with my own postcards that I paid for because my parents and my in-laws gave me some money, which I reported, so I've fully reported the dollar value of the postcards that were sent out on my behalf. And one of the endorsements I received was from the Wisconsin Teachers Union, and personally, I'm proud of that. That's not something that I feel like I should feel ashamed of. Like, that's something that's fabulous for me, because that's why, part of the reason I'm here and I wanted to run for school board was to not only, yes, it's about the children, that's the most paramount thing, but also I want to be here to be an advocate for educators and staff in the community. So, this is a very, obviously controversial, sticky topic, but I do feel like, I can only speak for myself, that I went into it, my thing was that I was gonna stay positive through the whole thing, and I've had many people since I ran and just, won a seat here that have come up to me in town and said, you know what? No matter how nasty people were to you on social media, you always were direct but polite. I never attacked anybody, and that, and I'm proud of myself for doing that. That doesn't address this endorsement issue, but, what Teresa is saying is the same thing that I have been told as well. There was an article in the Wisconsin State Journal. I was contacted, asked if I would be willing to be interviewed for it, and I said yes, and I was fully transparent about where I was coming from and what I've done and not done. And the individual, the reporter that did that report, he said he'd been researching it for months, and that there are far more historically candidates running for school board across the state of Wisconsin that are actually aligned with the Republican Party, receiving money from the Republican Party than like a Democratic Party. But if we just wanna take out titles, you know, political titles, you know, I think that you know, sort of like, it's getting back to what Vince already said, that we can't, I don't see how as a board we can control what people are doing before they're on the board. I mean, as a board member now, I'm on the board, and I, you know, would be transparent about what my personal politics are, but that's not what I'm about, why I'm on the school board. I'm on the school board to be a board member and support children and educators and the administration. So, I don't know, I mean, I don't know what the answer is, like, I don't feel like I've done anything wrong, but I do feel like other people feel like perhaps I've done something
Well,
wrong,
and see,
and it's an uncomfortable way to start.
That's exactly what made me, I wasn't saying you guys did anything wrong. I didn't like that you were getting criticized either. Because there isn't a necessarily guideline. And I'm not saying, oh, well then just don't worry about the criticizers. I get that to a point too. But, I mean, you know, I just don't want to see this turn into, I want, you know, Joe Blow to be able to run for the school board and not have an endorsement and still have that same chance of anybody, you know? So, like, I never wanted, it bugged me when people were like, oh, she's just this big Republican or conservative or whatever. Okay, yes, my political views, I'm gonna say it, are probably more that. But when it comes to this, there is so much more than that. And that's what I didn't like, is that you guys were just being labeled as that, instead of people saying, okay, can we see what they actually stand for? You know, they have kids in the district, they, you know, and that was more of what I was saying. I wasn't saying like, well, you guys got endorsed by this. It wasn't like that. I didn't like that people were not even listening to what you were actually running for. And that's why I'm trying to get that out of there.
Well, that, I understand that, but you also did say that it bothered you that you felt like we were getting our name out there more than other people. And that's, I think that that's the other slice of this conversation that, you know, I'm not sure where to go with that, except that, I mean, that is part of, I think, what you're also saying.
It is, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't want any side to do that. I want them to be, I want you to be able to run for the school board fairly. And that's why I'm saying, I don't want people to feel like, oh crap, I better just go with a political party so then I can get my name out there more. That's what I'm nervous about.
Well, what are you proposing then that we do? Because
Well,
I
if
don't
we
know
can't, I mean,
do something
that's what I'm saying, if we can just maybe write some guidelines, and people will do what they want. But at least then, if you get criticized for something and we have the guideline,
Yeah,
people are allowed to criticize. You know what I'm saying?
Can
It's
I
something like
interject
that.
something?
People are gonna criticize no matter what you do, though.
Well,
Let's face it.
I mean, yeah, you can say that about anything.
I think we have
you
a
know.
plan in place for this. We're gonna meet as the policy committee and discuss what some options may be and bring it
Okay.
back to the board.
That sounds
Maybe
great.
that's a good place to leave off
That's probably good.
that sounds great.
That sounds good.
and move on.
Yes, and then, I mean, and that's the thing too, if any, obviously when it's on the agenda, you know, people,
I think it's a good
Show
discussion
up.
to have, but why don't we just let it run its,
yes,
Yeah.
we're just trying to give it some background, so then obviously the policy
I
committee
think
will know.
everybody has that at this point.
Scott is telling us to shut up.
He's telling us to move along.
Yes, I know, okay. All right, so yes, so when that's on the agenda, we can talk more, and then anybody that has a thought on it, obviously, please show up to the committee meeting. All right, so let's go on to, gifts and donations, we do not have any, and our committee reports, CISA 5.
So they had their annual meeting the same time we had the expulsion hearing, so I could not attend that, so. But then they met last week and they talked in depth about Act 20. Not Act 20, but what teachers are going through, individual teachers are going through for Act 20. So, yeah. I can get the thing and I can I'll send it out to all board members so you can actually
Okay.
see, because it's a really good presentation, so.
Yeah, that'd be
And
great.
I mean, you've seen the higher level stuff, but none of us are in with the teacher groups. And this
Right.
is what the teacher groups are getting, so.
Okay,
It's from that view.
well, thank you.
Yep.
Co-curricular. That's me.
It is you.
It's not me anymore.
All right, baseball. The Lodi baseball team finished the season with an overall record of 16-10 and a conference record of 4-4. The team earned a number 6 seed in the WIAA playoffs. The Blue Devils hosted the Baraboo Thunderbirds in the first round of the playoffs, coming away with a 7-1 win. In the second round, Lodi took on number 3 Mauston, coming away with a decisive 11-2 victory. The season came to an end in the regional championship with Lodi losing to number 2 Edgewood by a score of 11-2. Softball. The Lodi softball team finished the season with an overall record of 12-7 and a conference record of 5-3. The team earned a number 4 seed in the WIAA playoffs. The Blue Devils hosted Bigfoot in the first round of the playoffs, coming away with a 7-5 victory. The season came to an end in the regional championship with Lodi losing to number 1 Broadhead by a score of 3-2. Girls soccer, the Lodi girls soccer team finished the season with an overall record of 7-6-4 and a conference record of 2-3-1. The team earned a number 4 seed in the WIAA playoffs. The Blue Devils hosted number 5 Aquinas, coming away with a 2-0 victory. The season came to an end in the regional championship with Lodi losing to number 1 River Valley by a score of 3-0. Track and field. Heard a little bit about it already. The Lodi track and field team took home the regional championship in both the boys and girls divisions. The boys team took home second place in sectionals, with several athletes advancing to the state championship in lacrosse. The boys team finished 5th at state. Senior Gavin Sargent repeated as boys triple jump state championship, setting a new state record along the way. The following athletes finished in the top 6, earning a podium spot and medal. Gavin Sargent first in the triple jump, Gavin Sargent second in the long jump, Zach Nyquist third in the 300-meter hurdles, and Bennett Nyquist fourth in the long jump. Golf. The Lodi golf team took home first place in the Prairie du Chien Regional, advancing to sectionals in River Valley. At sectional, the team placed third behind Edgerton and Bigfoot. Senior Cogan Barron shot 1 over par and advanced to the state tournament. Cogan shot a 114 at the state tournament, finishing 7th place, just 3 strokes behind the state champion.
By the way, that 114 is 27 holes. I don't want you guys
Good.
thinking he shot
Yeah.
114.
I was trying to figure out how many
Yeah.
holes it was.
It was supposed to be 36 holes. They could only play 27 because of rain, but 114 is from 27.
okay.
There's 27 holes.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're like, oh,
Lacrosse.
wow.
The lacrosse co-op finished the season with an overall record of 4-15 and a conference record of 2-8. They earned a number 15 seed in the WIAA playoffs and lost in overtime to number 18 Brookfield Central, Brookfield East. And that is it.
Ah, thank you. Our OSC.
Well, that is me, and it was a very brief meeting. I mean, it was a full meeting, but it was brief in terms of what we covered. The 2 primary things that we discussed were some new furniture that was purchased for the space that they were super excited about, and we'll just sort of refresh the space for the kids, and they discussed kind of removing some of the larger kind of 8-foot type tables that they have in there now and looking for alternatives. The other thing we talked quite a bit about is the lemonade stand at the,
Mention that.
yes, at the Lodi Ag Fair.
Lemonade
So
and
if anyone
cheese.
here is interested in signing up for the lemonade stand, if you haven't already, that is kind of become a bit of an issue because there have been, barely anybody has signed up this year, so.
Is that to the whole fair? Every day?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, all 4 days, I
Okay.
believe, they have a lemonade stand. They need staffed for 1.5 to 2 hours, and, so earlier in the week, like, after this meeting, I received an email from the rest of the the committee that they were thinking of just actually dumping the lemonade stand this year because, which is one of the primary fundraisers for
lot of
OSC
money.
because they
A
couldn't.
lot of money they make.
Yeah, I mean,
Especially when
Adam,
it's
you,
hot.
like, I don't even know what we're talking about financially, but you,
7-8 grand.
Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah,
And it's just because they don't have people signing up?
yes,
We're looking at, I think we've been able to adjust some of it, and I think we'll be able to run it, but,
okay.
yeah, we have to figure out. It's kind of not a new problem, really, when you look at it.
Really?
Can you
And it's the
just?
best lemonade.
It is
It
the
really
best.
is the
It is, it's all
best.
fresh.
Go to the, like,
Yes.
the website to sign up, or?
Yeah,
Well,
so,
yeah.
the fundraising Facebook website.
Well, so what, I mean, I actually responded to that email and just, cause I went back as a parent, and as a parent of an OSC student, I wanted to see how many times I had received communication about it. The only thing that was a standalone email was one that was sent like the final week of classes, when I think a lot of parents were all overwhelmed with the volume of emails we were receiving, and it was embedded, I think, in some of the OSC weekly newsletters, but sometimes people don't read those, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, I threw together a Canva flyer, cause I have a Canva Pro account, and, sent that to Jen Morgan, the president, who was gonna make a couple of edits, and then we're gonna send that out, and hopefully that'll have, maybe just attract more attention, cause
And
it's.
people know what their plan is now.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
we're getting closer to the
yeah.
date too,
Yeah.
so there'll be a link in there to sign up through the Sign Up Genius, so that's gonna go out again in the next couple of days.
And
I
do you
think.
only want OSC families, or? do
No.
you-
No,
Anybody.
anybody,
Okay,
that
does
wants
that
to.
get sent out to, like, everybody?
Well, that's what I'm unclear about, I don't know if either of you know, does it only go to
We'll put it on,
OSC?
we'll put it on Peach Jar. We'll put it on Peach Jar.
So it goes to the whole school district?
Anybody who signed up on Peach Jar for that age level,
Okay, okay.
we can do
Okay.
district-wide.
Traditionally, it's only gone out to OSC parents and people, alumni.
And, you know,
Heck, I'd go.
it could be grandparents of
Yeah,
those
cause kids can
too.
do it like together, you know, and they can do it with their parents, so that's really was what we talked about at the OSC meeting.
I'm sitting in the alumni cheese making.
I miss the good spirits.
There's a lot of high school students who need volunteer hours who used to be in OSC.
Oh, that's a
That's
good
true.
idea.
I miss the good Sam pie and ice cream, so I can maybe switch my.
We have our OSC board retreat coming up, so there was a lot of things that we just have on our meeting.
Yeah, was there anything I missed that was like a major?
Big part,
Okay.
yeah. We have some planning for that.
All right.
Thanks, Sarah.
Sure.
Personnel committee report.
The Personnel Committee met last Wednesday, that's myself, Adam, and Heather. Some of the items that we discussed at the meeting we've already discussed here, but I'll go through our agenda. Advisory pay for Dungeons and Dragons Club and Interact Club was acted on and consent agenda. Personnel professional goals, we discussed that in pretty significant detail earlier in the meeting. Salary process, the committee asked the administration to bring a plan back to us for addressing staff's ability to come in and discuss their salary. In particular, the plan that we've asked them to bring back does not include requiring a offer from another school district. Nursing services, we discussed that. We've had 2 nurses. We're going down to 1 nurse, and then that 1 nurse will have an aide. Part of the reason for not hiring a second nurse and going with the 1 nurse and 1 aide is because it allowed the district to put approximately $75,000 towards staff health insurance, and we needed to make up a shortfall that we had when the Personnel Committee agreed to kick in more so that the staff didn't have to pay as much out of pocket for their insurance. So we needed $100,000, and that gave $75,000 towards that. And then the last thing we talked about was staff handbook, which we discussed in the regular agenda tonight. That was our meeting.
Thank you. Curriculum.
Okay, so you've heard a lot about Act 20, and Nick was again presenting us with where we are with Act 20, and that our teachers are about a third of the way through quite a bit of their training. And then, you know, as Adam was saying, what we don't get, we have to thank everybody, is thank Nick and thank those teachers for going through one more thing that, you know, that DPI says we have to do, but doesn't necessarily, you know, it doesn't mean that you get appreciated for it. sure that you get funded for it. So, anyway, but we did, Nick was able to tell us that we were able to receive a little more grant money toward it because other schools hadn't applied for that grant. So that was a nice thing to hear. Anyway, our update on our screening requirement also is that they're not gonna be using iReady, so we're waiting to find out what our assessment tool will be.
So why? Why not iReady? It's huge, lots of schools use it, it does a wonderful job. What's up?
There are, so when you look at statute, there's a number of components that the assessment has to hit, and there's one, I think, that the iReady assessment does not currently assess, so,
And iReady can't
pull
like
themselves out of that.
quickly code that in or something, or?
You have to remember iReady is surveying across the country,
No, yeah, I
you
understand.
know,
I don't care about
so
Wisconsin.
there's,
Right.
yeah, so
They're all
our
right.
current plan is to, and I've worked with the reps for iReady, is to redo our quote for the upcoming school year, taking out grades kindergarten through 3 for the reading section of that assessment, and we are anxiously awaiting the Department of Public Instruction to tell us what our new screener will be, and we expect to hear that by July 1st.
The reason I bring it up is because staff learning how to use iReady and pull data out of iReady
Yes.
was a heavy lift, and now gone, right?
Not
It's just
everywhere.
another,
That's really, the impact is K3, so that.
impact is what?
K3,
Okay.
Right, I understand that, it's
But
it's
still,
only,
it is,
it's
you're right.
smaller, but
But
it's
it still
still
is big.
frustrating.
It is something we're trying to problem solve around because a key component also, if you like walk into a primary school literacy classroom, you'll see station rotations happening, and one of the stations is the personalized platform for reading that students access that gives some individualized tailored lessons, and so we're problem solving with the company about, we don't wanna overtest kids, we don't wanna give them a screener from the state, we don't wanna give them also iReady on top of that, so is there a way that we can still access that tool for some of our core literacy components without having to, pay for an assessment piece that we're not gonna use. And so we're working with them on that right now.
Okay.
Frustrating.
Then we talked about the advanced learner services that we have, and these are students, advanced learners are students that will keep scoring in the 90th percentile and across the board, not just in like one thing. And parents, as well as a student, as well as teachers may say this student could use these advanced level courses. It's meant to keep everybody interested in, the high achievers can interested in what they're doing. So anyway, example for opportunities that we had this year were Math 24, Math Meet, Spelling Bee, Young Art Authors Contest, Fine Arts Event, and I think I got it right. And we were looking at, we've got a lot going on with math and reading. We don't have anything going on with music, so that's one of the places that we're also looking. So guardians can go to the district webpage in the, there's a form of a K-12 plan for advanced learners if they wanna look
That's
at
for
that.
next year, that is, so we audited the district last year, against the DPI tool for serving advanced learners, and this year, one of our goals was to bring back a lot of the competitions that you spoke of, or opportunities, I'd call them. And next year is we are in the process of crafting an advanced learner plan that can better articulate services to parents, and that will be housed on our webpage at some point
And we've
next
seen
week.
an increase in these students in the 2023-24 school year.
Percentage of, or the number of students scoring in the 90th percentile or
Are
above
going
on
up.
reading and math, yes, we saw an increase from last year to this year.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's always a good thing to hear.
And then the high school SAPS Club, which stands for Science Applied Problem Solving, correct? Came to the curriculum committee and talked about a tutoring plan that they've already sort of piloted just to see how it would go. And wanting to know, and the administrators are part of this plan, about making it a solid program in the high school, at least to begin with. And that we would be looking at having a supervisor, a regular supervisor for the group that could help them organize and get it out there to the right teachers and the right students. And then the literacy curriculum adoption, what you already heard from Nick is that my perspectives was the literacy program chosen by the middle school. teachers after piloting Amplify, Common, Lit 360, and then my perspectives. They took my perspectives. So,
You guys are busy.
yeah, we
Thank
were.
you.
It was busy.
Facility and finance.
Me, sorry. You heard in consent agenda about Upper 90. Upper 90 is a company that approached us to come in and see if they could save us energy. And the ways they were looking at trying to save us energy are different from how we've tried to do it, so. And they don't necessarily, they charge eventually, but not up front. And so it's much easier to engage with, hey, what are you looking at? What have you found out without giving them money up
Yeah,
front? So
that's nice.
so they're gonna try and bring us back something. Fun thing to go over is the high school controller technology, which is the stuff that controls the heating and cooling. Little modules, they are outdated. The company we are using is going away, and so we had to allocate money to replace those rather quickly.
They were like from 2012, weren't they, or something?
I don't remember the exact date, but it doesn't matter because
I
the
was
company's not gonna be there
surprised.
anymore.
Yeah, I was
so.
surprised how old they were though.
Yeah.
Alright.
And then, as part of a previous walkthrough committee, it was a previous committee meeting, we asked about fire suppression. There is no fire suppression in the high school. And so we asked what that would cost, and Vince went to PRA, Architects and Engineering, and they came back with a price of $2.24 million to install fire suppression in the high school.
Which is sprinklers.
Yes.
But it's not just the high school.
No, the elementary school
Was all
also
of
does
them?
not, and the middle school also does not have
The
fire
That's
only
the
suppression.
cost just for the high school.
Just for the high school, to retrofit.
Nothing.
Oh, they need-
Fire extinguishers.
So when
but
you're
not a
doing a new
sprinkler
roof
system.
or something, then that can't be done as part of.
Sure, you got another $2.24 million to put in.
Just for the high school. The primary school's the only one. The other buildings have been grandfathered in.
So we've asked for all the buildings, what will the cost be for all of the buildings, and then we will have that discussion when we talk about referendum,
So we'll try to spend primary school.
whether that makes it into a referendum or not.
I was quite surprised. Yeah. And I gathered there are probably others.
It never seems like the high school is, what is it, 25?
25 years old.
That's the,
Yeah.
And we talked about weekend monitor pay, which we already discussed, moving that to $20 an hour. And then we had a very long discussion about green space, which is finally coming to a head. Would you say that? Vince, would you agree that that's maybe?
Let's make movement.
But we're gonna move it.
We're gonna move, because it's been years, that's why. But putting together some sort of green space project planning
That's a mouthful.
to move it all forward towards the next referendum. And that means all of the green space, including the school forest, baseball, soccer, everything you can think of that's outside of a building, not inside of a building. That will move forward more than likely with talk about the next referendum, but also talk about the next update of the strategic plan, which is coming up also. So all of this is moving forward at the same time, which means Vince has a lot of work to do. And the administrators are gonna jump in on that too, I'm sure.
Yeah, over the next couple of years, we have a lot of work to do, right? We think that next referendum is a long way away, and it's
It's not.
a couple of years away. So we need to do some planning for green space and facilities, there are other facilities as well.
And also the facilities,
And get
yes.
community input on that,
Yeah.
because they're gonna want input, right? When we talked about the last referendum, community wanna know about roofs, but they also understand that you have to put a roof on and don't really feel like there's not a lot of input you can give on an elementary school roof. Versus where a bowl diamond goes, people wanna have a say and wanna have more, or are you gonna add on to CTE, or they wanna have a say, and they should have a say. So
Yeah.
we wanna make sure we gather that information so the board can make a educated decision. As that's going on, we're gonna have to look at, probably next year from this fall, reconvening like strategic plan, right? Because that's gonna be coming to the end of its 5-year cycle, and refresh that, which will lead us right into some referendum conversations next fall and in the spring. So, because you're looking at, I would recommend that the district go to referendum in the fall of 2026. And because that's a governor election, so it's a big election, get more voices, and that's what you want to hear, the most voices as possible. So,
And not only CTE, but, you know, there's
The PAC,
the PAC, the pool,
yes, all of that stuff.
Wrestling
things,
room.
yeah.
Wrestling room.
the weight room, all of
All facilities.
And the committee has seen plans, possible plans on how to expand and change all of that stuff, but it needs to be brought to the community and the rest of the board moving forward, so. And then the draft budget, which you saw, that was what we had. And we are not meeting, I'm still a little shocked we're not meeting next month. Because we
We
usually,
meet plenty of times in the next 2 years.
we'll see.
All right, well, thank you.
And the guy in
And
school that asks if there's
No,
any
it's-
homework at the
it's
end of
just-
class.
We always,
So to Adam's defense, the Facility and Finance Committee has met every single month, right? It's, we take December off and we take July off for committee meetings.
and it's,
We haven't done it for the Facility and Finance typically, because there's always something, but right now,
it's clear.
it's minimally 2 hours.
well, again, we can have a
It's because of
conversation
us.
why
We're
that's
so
minimally 2
wonderful.
hours.
You
So,
guys could have your own.
well, thank you, Adam. And the policy committee has not met since the last board meeting.
No, and I
No.
just wanna make a note that, well, I guess it's on the next agenda item, it's listed as Wednesday, June 25th, it's Tuesday,
Yep,
June
it is.
25th, so it's a day off of our normal,
So
normal meeting day.
June is it's the
Tuesday,
25th.
June
Tuesday, the
25th,
25th.
hopefully,
Oh,
if.
so-
It says Wednesday.
It says Wednesday, but June
Right.
25th is right, but it's a
Yes,
Tuesday.
I'm-
It's
Okay.
okay, I wrote it in the right spot, so.
and our hope is that we will have our Title IX
Hopefully, yep.
things sometime
Yeah.
by the end of next week, to give you guys time to read them.
Right.
Give
It would
me
be
time to read them,
nice.
go through them, and then
Yeah.
get them out to you guys.
Because
in time
that
to
Title
read.
IX package is not gonna be thin.
No, and it's
Oh
not gonna
my
be just
gosh.
Title IX, right? It's gonna touch a bunch of different policies,
Right.
so.
It's gonna be a lot of
The
reading.
policy committee may meet in July.
Yeah.
Because this is supposed to be in place by August 1st, and we still haven't seen it. Which again,
6 p.m.
happened with the last administration, and now is happening with this administration, the exact same.
Yeah.
You do?
I don't know.
No, that's Wednesday, the 26th.
All right.
Yeah, the other time the Title IX came around also is you will pass it also. It was you will do this because it's state law,
It's federal law.
a federal law, and
Same,
there's,
same.
you can take a vote on it, but it's
Yeah.
still gonna be yes, no matter what.
Yeah.
This is gonna be the same.
It's like the only thing ever that the board gets that is, you have no choice.
You have to look it over and vote, but it doesn't matter.
And you have to live
You
by
can
it.
agree or disagree with it, but you still
Yeah.
have
You
to
can
vote
quibble all
yes.
you want, it isn't gonna matter.
All right, so, future meetings. So our next regular school board meeting is Monday, July 8th at 5:30 with closed session, 6:30 open session. Our curriculum committee is Wednesday, June 26th at 5 o'clock. Our policy committee is Tuesday, June 25th at 6 o'clock. Our facility and finance is Tuesday, August 20th at 6 o'clock. And our personnel committee meeting will be Wednesday, August 7th at 4:30.
And Vince, when is that next communication meeting?
The same day as the policy committee, the 25th,
At,
so from 4 to 6.
Oh, you're right, that did get moved up.
The what?
We have a communication, so right now we're refreshing our communications plan.
Oh,
Right, we had a 2-year communications plan that just came to an end.
okay.
So we met last week, a group of people, a lot of people who were on it the last time, but a few other ones, like we talked about last time, I said I was inviting Sarah, 'cause she
Yep.
was just a parent, she's a parent, but had been outside the board,
Yep.
and now is inside the board, like, but has been just recently, this Sarah.
okay.
So she came.
I know, we
Sarah
sit both
Sarah
next to each other too.
So we met last time and then last week, and then we're gonna meet again the 25th to
Okay.
take that information and
Nice.
try to come up with a plan where we will hopefully bring that to the July board meeting
Okay.
to adopt the communications plan. And as you see, like, as we talked about in the school
I
perception
was just
survey,
gonna say, you can use the survey. and-
we
was
have
gonna
been, we
say.
talked about the survey at the communications meeting, but people have been happy with what we've been doing, right, but there's still things we can tweak, and so it was good discussion.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
Awesome, okay, well, thank you guys for doing that. All right, and we do not need to reconvene into closed session.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion by Sarah Ramus, second by Terry. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Aye.
Have a great night,